So, you hold Bitcoin, but let me ask you a really important question. Do you actually own it? In this explainer, we are going to dive deep into the world of self-custody to make sure your answer to that question is a definite yes. This is your guide to taking absolute, undeniable control of your digital wealth.
You've probably heard this phrase before, but let's be clear. This isn't just some catchy slogan. It is the single most important rule in all of Bitcoin. It's the foundation for everything we're about to talk about. Simply put, if someone else holds the secret codes, the keys, to your Bitcoin, then it just isn't yours.
So what does that actually look like? Well, when you leave your Bitcoin on an exchange, you don't really hold the asset itself. You hold an IOU, basically a promise from that company to give you your Bitcoin when you ask for it. With self-custody, it's a completely different world. You have direct, undeniable ownership. There's no one standing in the middle. It's just you and your Bitcoin.
And that promise, it can be broken. In fact, we've seen it happen over and over and over again. From Mt. Gox way back in the early days to, the huge collapses of FTX and BlockFi more recently. History is just littered with exchanges that went under and took all their user funds with them. And when that happens, those IOUs, they become completely worthless.
The solution to all this risk is self-custody. It's really about stepping up and taking direct control of your own private keys. This is the ultimate act of financial sovereignty. It is, quite literally, how you become your own bank.
All right, so here's our roadmap for this journey. First, we'll get fluent in the language of sovereignty. Then, we're going to get our hands dirty and actually build your digital fortress. After that, we'll tackle the biggest threat of all, human error, before finally mapping out your first real step to mastery. Okay, before we can start building anything, we all need to be speaking the same language. So let's get crystal clear on the 4 pillars of independence that hold up everything in the world of self-custody.
First up, custodial versus non-custodial. See, custodial is the exchange model. Some third party has all the control. If they go bankrupt or get hacked or just decide to freeze your account, you're locked out. Non-custodial, on the other hand, is self-custody. You and only you hold the keys. No one can touch your funds without your permission, period.
Now, the most crucial piece of this whole puzzle is the private key. I want you to think of your Bitcoin wallet like a glass safe. Your public address, that's like the slot on top where anyone can slide money in. But the private key, that is the only thing that can open that safe and take money out. Protecting this key, well, that's the entire game.
Okay, so a private key is just this super long string of random characters. It's basically impossible to remember. That's where a seed phrase comes in. This is your private key, but it's translated into 12 or 24 simple human-readable words. Now listen, if your phone or your computer gets totally destroyed, but you have these words, your Bitcoin is perfectly safe. But, and this is a big but, if you lose these words, your Bitcoin is gone, forever.
And finally, let's talk about hot versus cold storage. A hot wallet is any wallet that's connected to the internet, like an app on your phone. It's great, it's convenient for small, everyday spending, but it's also vulnerable. Cold storage, on the other hand, is completely offline. This is the digital vault. This is where your long-term savings, your life savings belong.
All right, now that we have the language down, it is time to build. Let's start constructing our digital fortress, escalating your security layer by powerful layer.
We're going to climb up through 4 distinct levels of security. We're going to start with a hardware wallet, then reinforce it with a steel backup, then add a secret layer with a phrase pass, and for the ultimate Fort Knox level security, we'll look at eliminating single points of failure with something called multi-sig.
Level 1 is an absolute non-negotiable for any serious amount of Bitcoin, a hardware wallet. This is a small, physical device that generates and stores your private keys completely offline. And what that means is, even if your computer is just riddled with malware, your keys never, ever touch the internet. Your Bitcoin stays safe.
Now, there are a bunch of excellent options out there, like the Bitbox O2, the Cold Card, or Trezor. But no matter which one you pick, there is one critical, unbreakable rule. Always buy directly from the manufacturer. I'm serious. Never, ever from a third-party reseller like Amazon or eBay where a device could have been tampered with.
So you've got your shiny new hardware wallet, and you've written down your 24-word seed phrase on that little piece of paper it came with. You're good, right? Well, not if you want a true fortress. Think about it. Paper is so fragile. It burns, it gets destroyed in a flood, it just disintegrates over time. We need an upgrade.
And this just shows you exactly why. A typical house fire can get up to around 800 degrees Celsius.
your paper backup, it's gone. But a good steel or titanium backup can withstand temperatures almost twice that high, up to 1400 degrees. It's designed to survive fires, floods, even corrosion. That gives you some real peace of mind.
Now we get to level 3, and this is cool, the passphrase. This is an optional, totally secret 25th word that you add to your 24-word seed. What it does is create a completely separate, hidden wallet. So a thief could find your 24 words, restore a wallet, and maybe find a small decoy amount you left there while your real stash stays completely invisible. But I gotta warn you, if you forget this passphrase, it is gone. There is no recovery.
And for the absolute highest level of security, we're talking about protecting generational wealth here, we use multisig. This whole concept is about eliminating any single point of failure. So, for example, in a 2 of 3 setup, you create 3 keys, but you need any 2 of them to sign a transaction. You can store them in different cities, even different countries. A thief who finds only 1 key is completely powerless.
You know, the technology behind all this is incredibly robust. The hardware, the steel backups, the cryptography, it is all rock solid. But there is one final boss you have to defeat in this quest for security, and that boss is you. We are, so often, the weakest link in the chain.
So let me ask you this. What is the biggest weakness of all this advanced, powerful cryptography? What's the one thing that can bypass everything we've just talked about? The answer is a $5 wrench. You see, all the digital security in the world can't protect you from physical threats. This is where operational security, or OPSEC, becomes so important. Don't go around bragging about your holdings, and using that passphrase we just talked about to create a decoy wallet can be an incredibly powerful defense.
Another really common trap is malware. There's nasty software out there that will see a Bitcoin address in your clipboard and secretly swap it with an attacker's address. The defense is simple, but it is absolutely critical. You must always verify the address on your hardware wallet's trusted little screen, not your computer screen, before you confirm any transaction. And finally, you have to think about your legacy. What happens to your Bitcoin when you're gone? A huge mistake people make is putting their seed phrase in their will. Here's why that's a disaster. Upon your death, wills become public documents, and your family's inheritance will be broadcast for any thief in the world to see. You need a proper plan that doesn't blow your security.
Wow, okay, we have covered a lot of ground, right? From the basic concepts to some pretty advanced strategies. So now, let's bring it all together and put your entire path to sovereignty on a single map.
This right here, this lays out the entire roadmap. You can look at this and see exactly where you are and what your very next step should be. Leaving funds on an exchange, that's the lowest level. You want to avoid that. A hot wallet on your phone, that's just for spending cash. A hardware wallet is your essential first step into real self-custody. A steel backup is highly, highly recommended for durability. And for significant holdings, that's when a passphrase or multi-sig setup becomes true mastery.
Look, self-custody isn't a passive activity. It requires learning, it requires discipline, and it requires responsibility. Freedom has a price, but the reward is something that you just can't get in the traditional financial world: absolute, censorship-resistant ownership of your own wealth. So the final question is for you. You have the knowledge now, you have the roadmap. Are you ready to take that first step and truly become your own bank?